The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mohsin Zia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People, based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamohsinzia.com and www.amazon.com/Mia Mohsin Zia.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, radiopublic, and the mikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Mohsin Zia of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love would be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the mikewagnershow.com and can be heard on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartradio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible, and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who's a singer, songwriter, and very multi-talented. And he was diagnosed with brain cancer 3 days after returning to the U.S. And he went to school there, and he was featured in Billboard for his video on You're Not Insane, and he also has Songs of Recovery, and talks about the journey that he's endured, following brain surgery, and has work like You're Not Insane, Wired Shut, Undefined, and Paralyzed, and a lot more. And this basically goes from start to finish on his journey, being detected with brain surgery and more. And we're going to play one of his tracks in just a few moments. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in somewhere in the U.S., ladies and gentlemen, Darro Chia of Darro Songs of Recovery. Very multi-talented. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us, Darro.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. So you basically have a CD out called Songs of Recovery, which basically just which you faced an uphill battle basically returning to the U.S. from grad school, and you had got diagnosed with brain tumor, and the rehab process basically just took you through a journey, and you did it through music. Otherwise, you also have your first EP, Nostalgia. You recorded in 2017. You had jaw surgery, and so basically, it's just a journey from start to finish. When it comes to medical recovery, it's almost like going to med school. And before we get into all that, tell us how it first got started, Darro.
Oh man, it's a really like strange and construed story. So I'll try to make it as comprehensible as possible. I want to say that all of the issues that I had experienced probably started when I was 18. The thing is, like, so the type of tumor that I had, it wasn't actually cancerous, by the way. It was just a tumor that was in my pituitary gland.
Oh.
And this type of tumor, the pituitary gland is the gland in your brain that is responsible for all of your hormone production.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that the hormones in your body play a huge role in basically how everything works. And so because the tumor that I had was a pituitary tumor, it basically was wreaking havoc on all of my hormones for years before I realized what was going on. And because of the changes were happening so slowly, I didn't really notice them, on a day-to-day basis. I just kind of noticed that, like, I just noticed that I was having a lot of headaches. And because I was young, I would go to the doctor, and the doctor would just tell me, "Oh, you're young. It's probably just, you're probably just stressed, or maybe you need to go see a chiropractor, or just get a different type of pillow." 'Cause I was feeling a lot of, like, upper neck pain and the headaches, of course. And so I went through years of just going to the doctor, then misdiagnosing me, and trying to seek out remedies for something I didn't have. And then eventually it started affecting other parts of my body too. So I started having really bad joint pain. My jaw started growing out to the point where I had a severe underbite, which is what caused the jaw surgery, was the reason that I had the jaw surgery in the first place. At one point, like, my joints had become so beat up. I tore my ACL one year in college playing tennis, and I had to get surgery for that. And it's weird because you wouldn't think that, like, having a brain tumor, like a pituitary tumor, would cause these types of problems, but it turns out that some of the hormones that I was, having imbalances in, like, specifically I had a growth hormone imbalance where it was just, my growth hormone was through the roof. It was really high.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually causing, like, certain parts and certain areas of my body to grow larger than they were supposed to, which, hence the jaw, and actually I started growing taller too. And
wow.
that might actually seem like a great thing at first. But the issue was that I had already gone through puberty, and I guess, like, I think it was the platelets in my knees, or things had already been fused together, and the continued growth that I had on my, like, in the area was actually stretching out, like, some of the platelets in my knees, and it was causing it to be weakened, which is why I tore my ACL so easily, and just things like that. And so, like, I think 2016 is when I tore my ACL and I had the knee surgery, which, funny thing, by the way, was a week before my senior recital. So I went to Berklee College of Music, and it was my senior year. I was, like, basically a week away from playing my senior recital and graduating, and I had the surgery literally a week before I had to get up on stage and play music. So I'm sure there are videos of it somewhere, like, on the internet. You'll see me either standing up completely straight with, like, I have a knee brace on, but it's underneath my pants so you can't see it, or just straight up sitting down. Mm-hmm. And, like, there are, like, crutches on the stage, like, behind me to the side somewhere. So, like, I was completely stationary during my senior recital, which was not very fun. And so that took me a while to kind of heal from. I don't think I ever really got 100% back. I don't really know you can after that type of an injury to your knee. And so that same year, in 2016, is when I went to go get my master's in performance in Valencia, Spain. Berklee has a campus there. And so I went to go get my master's in performance there. And that December is the point where my jaw had become so grown out, and I had such a severe underbite that like I was unable to properly eat food and properly chew. Like I would eat sandwiches and just like the lettuce would just fall out because I couldn't actually bite and tear into the lettuce, you know? So it got to the point where I had to like start cutting my food to be able, because I couldn't, like, my top and my bottom teeth weren't touching each other, so I couldn't actually cut anything with my teeth. So like I couldn't eat a slice of pizza, you know, without like all the cheese and toppings falling off. It was so frustrating.
Ooh, my.
I know, and it was, and of course there was a lot of joint pain, and that was like the initial thing. It was just like I had such really bad joint pain in my jaws, like I guess it was really bad TMJ. So then that prompted me to go get jaw surgery, and the thing is, like in the United States, jaw surgery is largely viewed as a cosmetic surgery, and I can understand why. The issue is that it's not really covered by insurance because of that fact. And so I was living in Spain, and I didn't really have insurance in Spain that would cover that type of procedure. However, the cost was literally, I said, like 1/5 of the cost here in the United States.
And how much was that?
It was still like $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, no. In the U.S., it was like anywhere between $70,000 to $80,000 here. And
unbelievable.
You know, out of pocket, uncovered by insurance, there's no way I could afford that here. I'm a first generation American. My parents, like, you know, we grew up in poverty, and you know, we grew up in this inner city. Both my parents worked like probably 2 jobs each, and you know, like the whole, you know, the typical story of immigrant parents that came to the States. And so we didn't have a lot of money. And in order for me to be able to get the surgery, my mom sold her car and wired me the money to pay for the surgery. So I owe her a great deal, not only for, you know, my life and raising me, but like also for the fact that I can actually eat and chew food right now. So she sold her car for me to be able to get that surgery. Of course, after that surgery, she didn't have any money left over to come fly out to see me in Spain, because I got the surgery in Spain, and I actually got it in Barcelona. And this was in December of 2016, so like literally 6 months after my knee surgery. I still had a hard time jogging at this point, and I'm already under the knife. And my mom wanted to come out and fly to me to, like, you know, take care of me after the surgery. But one, obviously, she just, you know, sent me every single penny she had to pay for the surgery. And two, she's not extremely good at English, let alone any Spanish at all. So for her to fly to Spain would have just been clearly out of the question. Like, she would have gotten completely lost at the airport. And I would have had to, like, get out of my hospital bed, you know, to go take a train to the airport in Madrid to try to find her in an airport, you know, like unable to communicate with anybody in the airport. So that was something that I couldn't, like, risk. And so I decided to go through the surgery alone, and that was probably the biggest mistake that I've ever had. Like, it was such a bad decision of mine. This jaw surgery was like one of the most traumatic experiences I think I've ever had. Even way worse than the brain tumor, for sure. So the thing about the jaw surgery was that I had to get braces prior to the surgery, because they needed, I guess, like the hooks on the braces in order for them to, like, wire it shut after the surgery. And so I got braces literally like 4 days prior to my jaw surgery, and it hurt. I was not ready for that. I thought the braces hurt, and then, like, they finally put the wires on. It was pretty tight, and I was trying to enjoy my last meal with, like, you know, functional teeth, a functional mouth before the surgery, but I couldn't because I guess like the pain and sensitivity from the braces was so much that I couldn't actually chew anything. Because after the jaw surgery, you can't eat anything solid. Like, there's just you have no strength, and your mouth is completely wired shut. So it's basically a liquid diet for months after the surgery.
Oh my gosh.
It's intense. And I knew about this. Like, I thought that I had prepared myself, you know, mentally for this, like, liquid diet and stuff. And so like I knew that my diet was going to be largely nutrition shakes, like Ensure, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so this is where things get rough. So I knew that after the surgery, I was going to be on a liquid diet. And so I trained to Barcelona for the surgery. So I was living in Valencia, that's where I went to school. And I took a train to Barcelona, and I had the initial surgery, and then a week later I had the follow-up with my doctor. And so I was allowed to stay in the hospital for about 1 or 2 nights, but then after that I had to find a different place to stay for 5 nights so I could come back for the follow-up. And so I decided I couldn't, I wasn't able to get on a train back to Valencia because I was just out of surgery. So I was like, okay, let me just get a hotel room like down the street from the hospital and stay there for a few days, and then I'll come back to the hospital, and then I'll do my follow-up, and then I'll train back to Valencia. So I was like, okay, so let me just figure out what things I need for the days that I'm going to be in the hotel room by myself. I figured, well, I can't have any food, so I'm going to have to bring like a liquid diet, but I couldn't carry like cases of like pre-made nutrition drinks. On the train with me, it was just too much. So I was like, okay, I decided to go the powdered route, and I had like this powdered mix for Ensure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that, and I had this big old tub of just like, it looked like Nesquik powder, to be honest. And,
Nestle Quick, so, I can go for that right now.
I can actually really go for the chocolate milk right now. And it was chocolate flavored, and from what I can remember, it tasted pretty good. But the issue was that, okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. This is how I prepared. Okay, so I'm just prefacing. So I decided, okay, liquid diet. I bought a big old tub of Ensure powder, and I had those chicken broth cubes, the kind of cubes that you dissolve in hot water and it just turns into chicken broth.
Uh-huh.
So I had a bunch of those, and I figured, well, they don't have a microwave, and they don't have like a stove. So I ended up buying an electric tea kettle that could hot water, and that would like solve my problem for this chicken broth or whatever. So that's how I prepared myself. So I went to surgery, I got it done, and I remember like getting on the table, going into the operating room, then putting in the needles and the IV, and then the anesthesia kicks in, and I just remember like falling asleep one way and then waking up like instantaneously the next moment, even though it was like I don't know how long the surgery, it would have been like 6 hours. And I woke up in a dark room, and my mouth, the first thing I noticed was my face was completely restructured.
Oh my goodness.
It was just the weird, like the entire second half, bottom half of my face was completely different and unfamiliar feeling to me. It's like for the first time in years, I could feel my teeth touching each other. They were closed, and like a normal bite is supposed to be, but it felt like my muscles were like completely stretched out, and they were kind of like really strained in the position that I was in. And so what happens is the muscles in my jaw had grown very, very used to the way that my bite was. And then going into the surgery, and the surgery was pretty gruesome. They cut my top and bottom jaw into 6 pieces and removed pieces from the bottom and top jaw, pushed my bottom jaw backward and brought my top jaw forward, rotated it slightly, and then screwed in like 6 titanium plates and screws to keep it all in place. So there's a lot of change, a lot of bone chain structure in that process.
Mm-hmm.
The muscles were used to holding my jaw in a certain way. And then after the surgery, the bones are all in a completely different place, but the muscles still have that muscle memory of holding it the previous way. So it felt like my jaw was completely just like fighting against itself to go from one position to another. Like my bones were stuck in one way, they were screwed together with plates, but the muscles were pushing back against it to try to go back to the normalness of it was prior to the surgery. And so that was the strain that I felt in my jaw, and it was odd. It didn't hurt, but it was like very exhausting. Basically felt like my jaw was flexed the entire time. The other thing that I noticed is that my mouth was completely wired shut. So I had braces, screws and wires just literally sealing my entire mouth shut. And I had to stay this way for weeks so that, one, obviously the bones could heal, and two, the muscles needed to relearn the new position and get used to it. And so that was the reason why I had to be wired shut. And so I woke up and my mouth was just like swollen. My entire face was really swollen. And I was oozing in blood coming out of my nose. Because when you go in and you do such an invasive surgery like that, your entire sinuses, everything just gets really messed up. And, I'm just like oozing blood out of like every possible like hole in my face. And so my face was so swollen that I literally looked like the Nutty Professor.
Oh my goodness.
It was that bad. I have pictures, and to this day I have not shown like a single like I've shown my girlfriend, I've shown one of my parents Skyped me, so they know what I look like. But it looks like somebody CGI'd my face. It doesn't look humanly possible. It's insane. Maybe someday if I get really famous, I'll totally show them. But at this point, it's so embarrassing. And that was actually one of the reasons why it was so hard for me because I was stuck in a hotel room and I was so embarrassed by the swellingness of my face that I never left. Like I was afraid to go anywhere. I was just like literally, I had a basketball for a face. And one of the things the doctor told me was that when I would go to sleep in the hotel, I'd have to sleep sort of like sitting up so that the swelling could reduce faster. And so I thought that, when I was sleeping in the hotel room, I kind of like sat up as I was sleeping, which is practically impossible to sleep in. So, after the surgery, I woke up feeling that way. And I remember not being able to breathe just because my mouth was wired shut and my face was so swollen that my lips were like sealed shut, like due to the swelling. And my nose was all clogged up from not only the dry blood, but just like all the snot that had just,
oh my goodness,
from the surgery. And so I was struggling to breathe like immediately after the hospital. And it got to the point where I was freaking out and I was basically hyperventilating. And I called the nurse in because like I couldn't breathe and I started panicking. And she, in completely in Spanish was like, "What's going on? How's my Spanish was decent at this point. But in panic mode, it probably wasn't that great. Not to mention, I couldn't even speak. So I had to communicate with my nurse completely over Google Translate on my phone. So I would type things into Google Translate on my phone and show her what I was trying to say. And I was just like, I can't breathe. And she reads it on my phone. She looks at me. She's just like, "Oh, normal. That's normal." And
no.
I'm like, how is that normal? Okay, even if it is normal, like, do something about it. Like, obviously, you see me, like, freaking out here. Like, I'm literally crying, sobbing at this point. Which, by the way, when you start to sob, you just, more snot comes oozing down. So not only am I sobbing and crying, but, like, my nose gets more clogged from the snot and blood that's, like, pouring out of my nose now. And so, like, that just, like, makes me, like, even panic even more. And so, like, it's just like this feedback loop, this endless cycle of me, like, panicking, crying, not being able to breathe, and then panicking and crying because I can't breathe. And so she figures it out, and she gets one of those oxygen tubes that are, like, hanging from the wall and sticks, like, a tube in my mouth, like, in the side of my mouth behind where my molars stay, in my teeth. And so, like, I get a little stream of oxygen going through the side of my mouth, and I'm just like, that was the most relieving thing. For like the last three days in the hospital, like I was just so happy that I could breathe properly, that like everything seemed like it was gonna be okay. It was far from it, but in that moment, it was like, okay, this is doable. So then after that is when I checked out of the hospital and checked into the hotel. And so they gave me this like ridiculous routine of medication that I had to take to not only prevent infection, because there were so many cuts in my mouth from like when they did the surgery, but also like, healing and just like all the, and then the pain. And so I was taking medicine like every 3 hours, like even through the night. So like that's also one of the reasons why I was unable to sleep, was because my alarm was going off like every 3 hours to just, you know, take my medication by myself. And the other issue that I had in this hotel room was that they only had those tiny, tiny little glasses in the hotel rooms, which I for some reason didn't think about. They had like probably like 3 or 4 ounce glasses that like I had to sit there and mix water and mix my, you know, Ensure drink in like tiny little glasses, and I had to do it like 5 times just to get one full serving.
Oh my goodness.
So that was a nightmare. I should have just brought like one good glass, like one tall glass, and I couldn't. For some reason, it didn't cross my mind. And so like I was basically drinking Ensure out of shot glasses, like 2 ounces of water, 1 tablespoon of powder, mix, drink, and then repeat for like 5 times until I was able to. And it got to the point where it was just like, you know, I was just so defeated. I was mentally just you know, traumatized. I was afraid to go outside because of the way that I looked, and it was a nightmare. It was probably one of the worst experiences I ever had.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you also chronicle it in Songs of Recovery. We'll get to those in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by a well-known award-winning author, Mia Motion Zia, of No Time for Love, called Missing. An extraordinary relationship between 2 ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible, coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, TuneIn, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We'll hear a singer-songwriter, very multi-talented, Darro of Darro's Songs of Recovery here on The Mike Wagner Show, and we'll be finishing up some of his story in just a minute. Let's talk about your full-length album, Songs of Recovery, and you also been featured on Billboard for the video, You're Not Insane, and you can also tell us about some of the music from that, including your video appearance on Billboard, and also we'll be playing one of your songs in just a minute, and you also got quite a few, like Diagnosis, Paralyzed, Deja Vu, Other Side, and more. Maybe you can just tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, so I wanted this album to be, it's a loose concept album about my recovery process, but not necessarily the recovery in and of itself, but kind of the process of my recovery by writing these songs. So I write this music sort of process the feelings, you know, of my trauma in ways that I can't, like, you know, that I can't do with a therapist. And it was just like, sometimes I feel really angry. Sometimes I feel very helpless. Sometimes I feel like very confident and very like happy and you know, like lucky that I got through all this and it wasn't like way worse than it could have been. And so I wanted this album to capture each one of those feelings, like in and of itself, in its own unique way. And so, in a sense, in the first song on the album is Diagnosis, which is really just an intro track. It's not really a song. And it's more of a script. And the idea with that script is there's this guy who walks into a room because he's there for an MRI. And so he gets this MRI, and he talks to, you know, the MRI tech and tells him, like, sometimes when you do an MRI, they give you music to listen to because it can be very long processes. Like, some of them take an hour, you know. And so he talks to me and asks me if I want to listen to any music in this intro track, in the scene. And so I said, yeah, like there's this album that just came out and it's, you know, it's very new. I'm could you play it for me while I'm in the MRI? And so it's sort of like a meta like thing where like he asks me what music I want to play, I give him the track, and the actual music I'm listening to ends up being the album Songs of Recovery itself. And there's this funny little Easter egg in the line where he's like, okay, so it looks like this will take about 25 minutes, and then the MRI will be done. And the length of the album is 25 minutes. So it's like, in the MRI machine, there's like a sound effect that, like, I don't know if you've ever had an MRI, but there's like this really long, repeating loud sound that's just like, you know? And so I kind of use that and I synthesize it a little bit to kind of transition into the intro of You're Not Insane. And the reason that I did that was because in the music video for You're Not Insane, I wake up in a hospital room with like, my head wrapped up because I had, theoretically had just had brain surgery in the video. And so like the intro is kind of like an intro to the album, but also an intro to the music video itself. Mm-hmm. Because like I go into an MRI and I wake up in a hospital room just really confused. I was like, oh, I thought I was getting an MRI. Why did I just end up getting surgery? And so I wake up in this world where everybody is like walking around in hospital gowns. And this is the music video that I'm referring to, by the way, the one that was on Billboard. And so I walk around really confused. Everybody is like, rocking these hospital gowns and they're like accessorizing with like medical gauze and like all these weird things. And I'm just like trying to be normal. Like I put on normal clothes and I'm walking around. Everyone's looking at me weirdly, like I'm the odd one, while everyone else is wearing hospital gowns. And it's just like, the whole message of the song is like, we all have problems. We all have like diagnoses, mental, physical trauma, et cetera, et cetera. And in this world, everybody's wearing it proudly. Mm-hmm. Whereas me, I'm the only person in this world that's trying to cover it up and trying to fit in, and it's sort of, this play on, like after my surgery, people would look at me, they talk to me like, wow, you look amazing. You look different. Like you look so healthy. I can't believe like what you've been through. Like it must be amazing, because I lost a lot of weight. My jaw is all fixed up. So like, I don't have like a gross looking face anymore. And all of a sudden, everyone just assumes that I'm healthy because of how I look. And yes, I am healthier. Like I did go through the surgery and I did come out better for it, but it doesn't mean that I'm healthy because I'm not necessarily in remission. The surgery was successful to an extent. I still have to take medication every single day because some of my hormones don't work. So, and I have to get, needle injections every 28 days, and I have to inject myself with another medication every 11 days. And so like, if that's what my reality is now at this point, like that's never going to stop for me, And so if I don't take this medication, then I will die. And I'm just like, is that the definition of healthy? Or, you know what I mean? I don't know. But like people assume that I am because of the way that I look. And so like that song and that music video is basically like a satire and play on that. And like just because I look healthy doesn't mean that I actually am,
Mm-hmm. It almost sounds like a theory of just goes in line to what's happening these days. It's like you think you're healthy, but others are not. You think you're not healthy, but then others are as well. And of course, some of it can be tied to the pandemic as well too. And if there's what happened to the pandemic, do you think your situation would have been the same or would have been worse?
Probably would have been worse, honestly. Yeah, because it's one that only is it hard to get medical care right now. I mean, hospitals are flooded. They're all at capacity. And so, trying to deal with something like, even right now, I have a hard time getting my medication. One of my medications has to be delivered from, I think it's in Georgia. It's like where the pharmacy, it's like a special medication that has to be delivered. It's like via UPS, and wow. I can only get it from like select pharmacies in the United States. And so, like when the pandemic first hit, it was having trouble getting this medication, and I missed my dose by like a week. And like even just a week, like my body wreaks havoc. I actually passed out and ended up in the ER. Like I passed out and had a seizure shortly after missing my dose because like it was so late. And I'm fine, but it's like the pandemic is affecting people in ways that we don't even like think about. Like it's And it's not just about whether or not you have COVID or not, but it's like there's this domino effect of everybody else that needs care that doesn't have COVID, and it's affecting everybody in that way too.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say as well that you're making a really nice recovery. And will there be a follow-up to Songs of Recovery?
So yes, yes and no. I actually had written like another few. I have written like 2 or 3 more songs that were sort of in the same subject vein, like they were about my mental and physical health issues. I actually wrote a song about the moment that I found out that I had a tumor, which I think is probably lyrically one of the strongest songs that I've written. However, the style of the song didn't necessarily fit on the album for me, and so I decided to pull it off of the album and wait for the next release. So I am going to continue writing music about it, but I don't think I'm going to hold myself to it. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to write more mature songs, write more love songs. There's a whole lot of that in my library that I could write about. Mm-hmm. But I haven't. And I'm also ready to kind of just like table this, brain tumor thing, because part of me wants to make sure that I know this is a great story and it's great for press too, for sure. And it's always going to be a part of me. However, I don't want that to be the only thing that people know me for, basically, ever.
Right. And of course, you also have a lot of good things going, too. And who are some of your major influences when it comes to music? Like, who are some of your favorite artists, singers, and songwriters growing up?
Oh, that's so hard. Okay, so I know everybody says this. Like, everybody says I have lots of influences, and I listen to all kinds of music. And it's, I'm going to have to be cliche and say sort of the same thing. But for me, when I grew up, I actually grew up pretty strictly on Cambodian music because I'm Cambodian American. And so my parents, my dad, like was in a wedding band and they would rehearse every Sunday.
Oh, wow.
So and they would rehearse like, these Cambodian songs in the basement of my house every Sunday. And so I remember sitting up at the top of my basement stairs while they would rehearse, and I would just like listen to their music. And then after they would leave, like everyone was done and like left the house, I would go downstairs and just like play on the drums or like, try to imitate their songs on the keyboard and stuff. And so like that probably played a really large role in my ear. I wouldn't say it has a huge role in the way that I write music or the style of music, but it definitely plays a role in my ear training and how I'm able to like listen and hear things. And growing up, I grew up in the inner city in York City, Pennsylvania, and I listened to a lot of like hip hop and rap and pop music when I was growing up. It wasn't until I was in middle school that I actually started listening to rock music. And I discovered everybody really late. Like, I didn't know who Jimi Hendrix was until I was like 14 years old, which is kind of embarrassing for being a guitar player, but I just wasn't exposed to that. I mean, I was very exposed to Carlos Santana. Cambodian musicians love Carlos Santana, so I knew all of Carlos Santana's songs back when I was young. Sorry?
I was going to say, that sounds interesting with Carlos Santana. And who are some of the other guitarists? And how often Carlos Santana, came to the region and played? And what was the thing that made Carlos Santana so popular in Cambodia?
So I don't know if it has anything to do with him playing music. It's, from what I remember, it's there's a lot of covers. Like there's a lot of Cambodian versions of Carlos Santana songs. I mean, like Black Magic Woman. I mean, I know that's Fleetwood Mac, but the Carlos Santana version, there's like so many Cambodian covers of that song. And so like everyone knows Carlos Santana because there's this really popular Black Magic Woman cover song in Cambodia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really construed. And so he's huge. He's a huge musician for Cambodian artists. But personally, my everything changed for me when I discovered Steve Vai. Steve Vai is probably my favorite and most important guitar player, personally to me ever. He taught me how to practice. He taught me what was important about what to focus on when practicing, and how important it was, to get good enough at your instrument to be able to play the things that you hear in your head. Um, and so that was what I focused on when I was like, I was deep into Steve Vai territory. Like I learned that Steve Vai had practiced like 15 hours a day. And so I was like, oh, so I settled for 8 hours a day. And so during my college years, I was actually failed my first year in college at Temple University because I was literally locking myself in my dorm, just practicing like 8 hours a day. And I failed pre-calculus twice because of that.
Oh my goodness! And
yeah,
blame it on
bad.
Steve Vai. I'll bet you make him take pre-calculus.
I know, right? So that's the thing. Like I was practicing a lot of Steve Vai songs during that year, but I used one of his songs to audition for music school. So I ended up getting into school anyways. It was just a different school. So I transferred to Berkeley College of Music, and that's where like everything changed for me. So like I got really into a lot of progressive music. I really got into Dream Theater. I really got into, and pop music too. I got into a lot of John Mayer, a lot of Maroon 5, a lot of Paramore, and then of course the classics and like from my middle school time, like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, The Academy Is, and all of the emo pop punk bands. Like they were always ingrained in my memory, but it wasn't until I started writing my own music is when all that stuff came out. And I guess because of like the trauma and all the stuff that I had dealt with from the tumor, it's like there was just all this pent up angst, and I just had to channel it. And the only way that I could do it was like through, like, I guess satirically emo pop music is the only way I can describe it. And so like that was kind of the route that I decided to go. And it was fun to play, which was the most important part to me. When I was writing these songs, like these, pop punk and emo riffs, they were really fun to play and they just came naturally to me. So that's kind of just what ended up being the sound that I chose for these songs.
And of course, getting to more of the songs before we play one of your cuts from Songs of Recovery. Your first EP, Nostalgia, was out right after jaw surgery, 2017. Tell us a bit about Nostalgia. What inspired you to write it?
So Nostalgia was the EP that I wrote while I was in the height of the trauma of my surgery. Or not my surgery, but like my brain tumor issues. I wrote Nostalgia after my jaw surgery, and the reason that I did it was, well, one, it was actually a requirement for me to graduate. So I actually decided for my graduation project that I was going to do an EP. But really, it was a promise to myself to keep doing music. Because after the jaw surgery, I almost dropped out of school. I came home for the holidays after my surgery, and I didn't want to go back. I was in a really dark place, and I almost didn't go back to school. I almost dropped out and just gave it up. And the reason that I had gone to grad school in the first place was, one, I had gone through a really bad breakup and I didn't know what to do. So I figured, let's just go to grad school. And two, I wanted to focus on my own music for once. I had always been practicing guitar, and I always thought that I was just going to be a guitar player and that's it. I never spent any time working on my own music or developing an artistry or a brand or anything. And when I decided to go to grad school, I was like, okay, I'm going to go and do this just for me. Like, I want to write my own music. I want to be an artist. Like, this is just for me. And the first semester of grad school, I didn't do that. I was, going back into practicing and trying to be a shredder and I wasn't doing any of the things that I promised myself that I would do. Then I had the jaw surgery, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go back. But now I'm focusing on literally only myself this time. I'm not going to play for anyone else. I'm not going to record for anyone else. I'm just going to write my own music and make my own music. So that's what I did. And I realized that I was pretty good at composing arrangements, instrumental arrangements, but I wasn't so great at singing yet. And I think part of that was just because I had jaw surgery and my mouth was still very numb. And so Nostalgia, I was still relearning how to sing when I was recording that entire thing. And I always wish that I had more time or waited a little bit longer to do it, just so that my voice would have been better. because the first song that I recorded and the last song that I recorded, there's a vast difference in the way that I sing. And it's because like over the course of like the months that it took for me to make this EP, you know, my face kept healing and my mouth kept changing, so that my voice just kept changing too. So that was really just like a test, honestly, for me.
Okay. Well, that's a very good one as well, too. And we're going to play one of your songs from Songs of Recovery in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look on a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion-Zia of No Time for Love called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love would be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible, coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, TuneIn, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here, singer, songwriter, and multi-talented Darro Chia of Darro Songs of Recovery here on the Mike Wagner Show. Right now, here's one of his songs from the Darro Songs of Recovery release. Here is Better Not Keek My Head, right here on the Mike Wagner Show.
What people say, don't mind the evil staring and glaring as I stroll around. I don't want to be constrained, too much deceitful praying and straying as faith ties them down. I disobey, they stay away, I won't admit foul play. So let's agree to disagree and go our separate ways. I better not beat my head, better it's left unsaid, better pretend I'm dead, oh dead. And you better not jump ahead, better not start this thread, better log off instead. Begin to think that they could win hell on earth with a flat argument. We have all been ridiculed. This world is oh so cruel as the predators break all the rules. Better pretend I'm dead, oh dead. And you better not jump ahead, better log off instead. Instead. I better not beat my head, better it's left unsaid, better pretend I'm dead, oh dead. And you better not jump ahead, better log off instead. Instead. Start this thread, better log off instead. I don't care what people say, don't mind the evil staring and glaring as I stroll around. I don't want to be constrained, too much deceitful praying and straying as fate ties them down. I better not beat my head, better it's left unsaid, better pretend I'm dead, oh dead. And you better not jump ahead,
Darro, Song of Recovery, and that was Better Not Peek My Head on the Mike Wagner Show. Tell us more about that song, and I'm sure you had inspiration to write it. That was one hell of a tune, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. So that song is actually like the only song on the album that's not strictly about my brain tumor. That was actually written very recently, and it's actually a play on like the political divide of the U.S. right now,
Mm-hmm.
and especially leading up to the election. And I wanted to release it the week of the election, just because of how related to the current times it was. And so that song is really just about how wide the divide is, the partisan divide in the U.S. and how we just we don't even listen to the other people. We kind of just, there's already a stigma attached to, if you're a Republican, this is what you think and this is what you believe in. If you're a Democrat, this is what you're thinking and this is what you believe in. And there's no middle ground anymore.
Ain't that the truth?
Exactly. And so that's what the song is, like this kind of angry, satirical, comment about like we can't get along, and like we just we just make fun of each other on the internet, and we just tell the other person to shut up because they don't know what they're talking about. And it's really kind of just like I'm done. Like I don't need this type of hatred anymore. I don't need this type of online fighting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really what the song is about, and it's just like kind of fun-filled rage.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you had a lot of fun with it as well too. Where can we find Songs of Recovery at?
So you can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Music. It's on all the major platforms. You can find physical CDs. I have physical CDs and hoodies with the artwork for it, which I think is really beautiful artwork done by my tattoo artist. And you can find that on my website, which is darrossongsofrecovery.com. The artwork is actually the tattoo that I have. It's a sleeve on my arm. And I kind of repurposed it for the album just because I thought it was very appropriate.
Mm-hmm. That is very amazing. Once again, we're here at Darro Chia of Darro Songs of Recovery here on the Mike Wagner Show. A very big thank you for your time, Darro. You're absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. And just a few more things. Look forward to having you back on in 2021 and beyond. And what can we expect from you in 2021 and afterwards, Darro?
Oh, okay. So in 2021, I am flying out to Portland. I'm working with a really cool producer. His name is Chris Crummett, and he's a producer for a lot of Dance Gavin dance music. So I'll be working with him in January, and expect a new single and a music video for that sometime in early spring.
That's fantastic. And who do you consider biggest influence in a career, Darro?
Career-wise, that's hard. I'm a huge fan of Paramore, like I said. And I follow a lot of John Mayer, strictly because John Mayer is like a singer-songwriter, guitar player, but he has a band. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the issues that I came up with when I was writing this music. It was like, it's not very common for pop punk to be an artist. It's usually a band. But since I write all the music and I do all the production and stuff, I kind of figured, like, let's just go the John Mayer route, and I'll have a band when I perform. But as of now, it's just me. Mm-hmm. So I follow him a lot in terms of like his career strategy.
Mm-hmm. And that's amazing as well too. He's one of the best out there. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
If you're passionate about something, don't give up. Like I know it sounds really cliche. It's like, this is one of those things that you go to sleep thinking about, you wake up and it's the first thing you think about. You have to do something with it. Otherwise you're just going to keep thinking about it and not doing. So think and execute.
And that's something to take with as well, too. Once again, Darro Chia of Darro Songs of Recovery here on the Mike Wagner Show. Darro, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic, very inspiring. Looking forward to having you again soon. Learn a lot from you. Keep us up to date. And looking forward to have back on in 2021 and beyond. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or listen to your music?
Okay, thank you. First off, Mike, thank you so much for having me on your show. This was a huge opportunity, and it was so fun to talk to you about this. People can find my music on my website. They can purchase merch and CDs, hoodies, shirts, posters on my website, www.darrochia.com. You can find me on Instagram at Darro_C, or you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/DarroChia.
That is fantastic. Once again, Darro, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch. You're absolutely inspirational.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing: Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/miamosinzia.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, radiopublic, and mikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at mikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.